Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Yeah, it's Friday. We made it through. More or less. I think I may have left a few brain cells behind in the meantime here, but a whole lot to talk about. It's been a little bit frantic over here, I'll be perfectly honest with y'all, as I've gotten multiple requests, talking with people out of San Antonio and Denver today about our situations here. So if you're in any of those locales or like listening to them KOA, not sure how they're going to use it, but I may have been on their airwaves today as they've been asking about the situation we're seeing here on the streets of El Paso. And I don't think that's going to go away as much as we've been talking about the absolute situation itself. I think the focus on this area is only going to keep increasing as we get that much closer to next Wednesday and the end of Title 42 anticipated. So not meaning to sound like a broken record on this, but I think it'll be hard pressed to find a more impacting subject right now and the focus on us right now with that. So yeah, that's very top of my mind, absolutely. And there's a whole lot more details coming out about this, including El Paso County judge or county government in general actually potentially setting up requesting of cooperation or assistance from the state government. That's been a sticking point, which is kind of an understatement, honestly, for a minute now. But since this is our last meeting, according to our news partners there over at KFOX 14, they're giving some authority to, it's not exactly a city manager-like thing, but the county does have a chief administrator, Betsy Keller. The fact that y'all may not actually know her name, we talked about that position and spoken with her in the past, but the fact that it might not be as front of mind as like the city manager position is probably saying a couple of things that I'm going to take well about that office. But in any case, giving some limited authority to make decisions about the migrant situation if indeed Title 42 is lifted. And of course, commissioners will be consulted, but they can't just, meet together. I mean, heck, if they end up on the same phone line at the same time, they could be technically breaking open meetings laws. So it gets complicated if they don't have it fully on the calendar here. So this is what the county judge, Ricardo Samaniego, said, that we don't want her to be in a situation where she would have to wait for commissioner's court. It's very regulated. As I said, my note there, him continuing on to say all the decisions that are made have to be supported and voted on by commissioners. In this case, we sort of advanced her ability to make some decisions, and they are not isolated. I mean, she will call me and we will be discussing the decisions that she has to make. If we need buses and it's critical, she doesn't have to bring it back to the court. So that's part of the situation we're looking at being set up for this next week. Again, so much anticipation. You'd think it's Christmas, except it's one of the, again, probably biggest news stories of the year and situations going on our streets ahead of December 21st. And again, that anticipated end of Title 42. So I've been fielding requests, and I'm sure a lot more will be coming in and a lot more focus happening on our region. That's just overwhelming my brain right now. Of course, it is Friday. And no, this is not going to be the only talk about that show today, because we're still doing what we usually do and do, I would say, pretty well, and if not best, which is talking about the issues that affect us here in the borderland and now, of course, beyond. So Friday, Free for All Friday, back on the schedule, back regularly as we would with this. If you want to call in, the phone line's actually just filled up, but if you want to call in a little bit later, because we'll be taking those calls throughout both hours of the program, as we usually do end of the week, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Place you can call there, as well as comments over on the social media if you want to chime in over there, whatever works best for you. As we already have Flaco Jimenez, Monica Cervantes, and Robbie Flores dropping those likes and reacts. We do appreciate. In any case, let's just go ahead and dive right into it. I'm sure this will be another interesting, engaging, and hopefully not entirely out of hand like I feel like my life is right now. Couple hours of the show, but I don't know. Let's see what we got coming up for you here. So let's just dump into it. We do have Ben on the east side here right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. Just a couple of quick thoughts. About 4 years ago, do you think that we thought it was a good idea to cut the balls off and breast off our children?
I would say that anything being done non-medically, particularly when we're talking about under the age of consent, is going to be a questionable one at best without some really good justification.
Yeah, but nowadays our president's saying it's perfectly okay. Okay, 4 years ago, do you think it was a good idea to allow men into women's bathrooms and for men to compete against women in many sports?
I mean, there's short answer no, but I will subside that by saying that our bathrooms kind of suck here in the U.S. Having been to other places and other places around the world where they do the whole dedicated unisex bathroom things, I know that there are like concerns about impinging, but they also don't have the giant gaps in the stalls that we have here in the U.S. They're like separate rooms with their own doors for each toilet kind of thing here. So I see a couple of problems beyond the one that you're just mentioning with that there as well.
Also, 4 years ago, do you think we would have thought it was a good idea to invade our country with drugs and hundreds of thousands of legals a month coming into our country?
Again, simple answer, no, but also, I mean, important context is important here that what's been going on with the opioid crisis. I mean, fentanyl has unfortunately very much figured into something that's been ongoing here already. It's frankly, I think the reason it's so popular and the reason it's so prevalent is the potency, and therefore I still don't get the idea of marketing the deadliness that comes with it as a, hey, yeah, you could die from this. Don't you want that? I don't get that, but it's cheap and often then cheaper than the prescriptions that people were initially getting addicted to and therefore having to find. I mean, people were switching to heroin before this because it could eventually in some places be cheaper. So we've got ongoing problems here. So I'm not going to say necessarily within the last 4 years ago, would we have called this a good idea? No, but I'm also going to say we were kind of in the midst of it 4 years ago in that case as well.
Also, one other thing, 4 years ago, the First Amendment, if I had an opinion about a news story that I couldn't, and I expressed that opinion, I assumed because of the First Amendment that I could not be sued and lose everything in a court of law by just saying something online that was not anything that's going to harm anybody, like I threatened anybody or anything like that. I just expressed an opinion. Don't you think that that would have been upheld when 4 years ago?
Maybe not. I mean, some of the things that come to mind on that topic here, particularly with the whole Twitter transition and the removal of accounts. I mean, there was the very notable, the track Elon flights or Elon, I don't remember what the exact username of it was, and it's been banned now, but the one using publicly available data to point out where Elon Musk's personal jet is flying to, that one has now been banned for that. But I will say that as much as, any right definitely comes with responsibilities, there are also, particularly with freedom of speech, not freedom from consequences. I mean, the caveat you gave there about not actively threatening someone or say like doxing them or anything, yeah, that definitely opens you up to liability, and free speech is not something you can hide behind. But I will say that a common misconception that often comes up, as much as we do espouse it and we want people to be able to say what they have, it's kind of the whole formulation of this show, is that other people can still take actions on it, and someone suing you over that is honestly not really a factor within the First Amendment, because all the First Amendment does is prevent you and protect you from governmental consequences. And even then, that often ends up in court cases in its own fraught nature. But if someone wants to sue you for libel or slander, I mean, they may or may not have a good case of it in the long run, may end up being dismissed. But honestly, if we're talking about a big enough money in these cases, these can take tens of thousands of dollars to resolve. So if someone is really wanting you to see the kibosh put on your speech, or at the very least your personal life, that is unfortunately a factor that is possible even with however you interpret the First Amendment.
So you're essentially saying that the First Amendment is dead.
I'm not saying it's dead. I'm just saying it's been misunderstood for a long time. Yes, the government cannot come and say, we don't like what you're saying. We don't have a really good reason to, but you can't say that anymore. They have to show significant cause, but you can always be sued. And let's be honest, we're a pretty litigious society these days.
Yeah, well, the reason why I bring that up is because of the ultimate news story of this year was the Alex Jones news story. I mean, he expressed an opinion and because he expressed an opinion,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't harm anybody as far as directly killing any of the kids that was involved in that problem, the incident, and it didn't do anything. I mean, except for sticks and stones break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Where have we come where we can't say something and be afraid to be brought into a court of law and lose everything? Again, it used to be before 4 years ago. I remember all the time saying, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Sure, and I get what you're saying there, and the idea of you should be able to say what you want, again, usually comes without much of a caveat there for me, but let's also posit another potential for you here. If someone were, say, and this is an egregious example, I'm not saying this happened, but let's just say someone was waiting outside your house every day, and every time you went to go and get in your car, they were screaming obscenities, profanities, never threatening you, but calling you everything very abhorrent to you, and that was happening every day. Would you think that that person could have, I don't know, penalties put on them, restraining orders among other things, or potentially civil?
That is a direct threat to my person. They are actually coming after me and my property. So that's a direct threat. If I express an opinion on a news show like this, should somebody have the right to come after me and sue me for expressing that opinion if they disagree with it?
In general, no, but let's take that example or potential hypothetical I gave to its logical extreme then. I mean, the entire point of the fact of the matter is that some of these things being promulgated and these theories being put forth resulted in that. Now, some of the argumentation, of course, made by Jones and his legal team is that that's not his responsibility. He's simply kind of asking questions as you put here. But the fact of the matter is that he was also, I mean, some of the internal documents, the text, the whole phone that got passed back and forth here, it showed some, I'm not going to totally call it malfeasance because I haven't read through the entirety of the text, so they were part of the court record, did show some, hey, we got to amp this up because we've got more people wanting it here, and they were making money off of it as well. So again, lack of government enforcement on it, as it does in other places, does not necessarily mean freedom from civil penalties, and that's what this was. This was a civil penalty. So if you like or didn't like what ended up happening with Alex Jones, I will say that words do have meanings, and questioning someone, whether their loved one, I mean, I've sat in on similar Supreme Court cases, not quite to this extent, but the one that involved the Westboro Baptist Church, Phelps and such, was of a kind of similarly, kind of what do I describe there, shocking nature of not someone outside their house all the time, but saying, I'm glad your kid is dead, and those kind of things here that they ended up suing to. That particular case ended up being decided basically in favor of the Westboro Baptist Church, saying that, I mean, they have certain rights to say certain things. They were in a publicly available area. They didn't violate any other laws in the progression of it. But still, again, coming to the logical extreme of it, if someone was going to be targeting you for something that you didn't feel you had a part of or were a victim of themselves, but they didn't believe it, and that's where these penalties start coming down. That was kind of the inciting part of the suit here. And there was, I mean, it's a whole documentary on its own. If it's not out already, I'm sure it will be soon, on how the Alex Jones case progressed here. But taking it back to what you said specifically about it, say, expressing an example on this program, we do have some very basic policies in order to both protect us, the show, make sure we can keep doing it against like things such as, libel, slander, threats against someone. If someone wants to dox someone, we're not going to particularly be involved in that either, because we don't want to be anywhere near that. And that does open you up to, again, the possibility of civil, or even if you take it egregiously enough, criminal penalties. So as with any rights, there is no absoluteness to it, that you can do it regardless of what happens at the end of it. Again, the whole fire in a crowded theater thing. So these are factors that I would argue have more or less always been in place. And if it's being taken one way or the other, you're taking it particularly, again, with the Alex Jones case, as a infringement on it or a change to it, I'm not sure if I share that reading with it, because, again, there's a lot of egregious examples in that case.
And one last thing is, can I attend a political rally that is maybe against Joe Biden or part of our government? I mean, I'm not happy with Veronica Escobar, and we're having a political rally against her. Should I feel confident that I'm not going to be thrown in jail because the FBI and our other investigative forces for the government are going to take offense and throw me in jail.
See, that's where we start getting into
because they've been listening on my phone.
And that's where we start getting into some of and that also then it starts including the, Fourth and Fifth Amendments, and where these are specifically what those amendments are towards. So freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, political organization, those kind of things are where, maybe not exactly the political part of it, but it's definitely an extrapolatable example from what the First Amendments are supposed to go to. And then you start getting into the idea of them listening to you on your phone and those kind of things. That's where Fourth and Fifth, security of property effects, papers, search and seizures without due cause and due process start becoming incredibly important. And as much as the whole aggregated data revolution, there's the whole examples being given out there about people's entire movements, maybe not specifically, but I would be willing to bet that specific things from metadata, your cell phone's GPS apps you're using, stores that have been to are getting more prevalent. But even then, getting beyond the whole cyberspace and metadata example, the idea of police or even just personal and civilian license plate readers are starting to get to that point of, okay, when does just mass data collection start becoming a violation of that? Those are some of the court cases that are beginning to percolate through the courts and have been for a minute now, because if you're really starting to gather things on people that have had no indication of a crime, that's essentially what the First, Fifth, Fourth, and a bunch of other amendments were along. The idea of that you cannot be just essentially goes against the idea of innocent until proven guilty, because there were examples that came out, the British government of, we'll round you up and figure out if you did something later. That was entirely what the Constitution of the founding generation were opposed to. So I would say that, yeah, if you're just attending a rally, taking no other action of that, interested in what people have to say, that if you start seeing consequences to that, that would be something that there should absolutely be First, Fourth, Fifth, and other remedies too.
Isn't that what happened to the people on the January 6th insurrection? We actually had people that were there just to exercise their right to assemble and petition their government, and we had investigative authorities, investigating them and accusing them of a crime, where all they were doing was, for a lot of them, were just sitting there and watching things happen.
So that's, I kind of thought that's where I might be going with this, because of course, attending a rally and just saying interesting ideas and going home about it is one thing. If a gathering of any size, scope, and purpose ends up going into and then becoming a riot, which is, I think, the most mild way that you could refer to what ended up happening on January 6th, because it wasn't just a bunch of, concerned people getting a little bit out of hand, a little bit rowdy, maybe, knocking over a goalpost or two or that kind of thing after like a sports game. We're talking about that they went through broken windows and entered the Capitol against police. And yes, I know that there are those questions about what actually happened with police. Did they lead them through here? Capitol Police were outmanned square one on this. And sure, if you want to get into other parts, but I'm sure there will be investigations coming up, or more of the type of hearings that we've seen with the existing January 6th committee hearings in this new session of Congress, as Republicans will have control of it and have the committee and subpoena power. But if you're really going to say that, well, therefore it wasn't really that bad, I got to disagree with you square one on that, because anyone that takes it further than I am concerned and want to speak about it to, and now I'm going to destroy something, I'm going to enter into an area that is not, I did not go through the policies and procedures and security of that area. And again, participating in a riot is not justification saying, well, it started peacefully enough. That hasn't worked at any point in the last couple of years, I think so.
But Andrew, there was a lot of people there that were just not doing anything, but our government decided they were doing something, and so they were caught up in this big, huge dragnet of information that they picked up with the phones and other things, and made it to where they were criminals until they proved themselves innocent.
I guess I get what you're saying on the idea that there may have been some that had essentially no implications towards the events that ended up happening and unfolding on January 6th. And I guess that is a part that does need to be maybe further looked at, because someone saying, like, I was concerned about what's going on there, wanted to make my voice heard, and then things got out of hand. I could see that, but that's also been a case kind of with a lot of different riots that have happened, that you going to a location and not seeing the way it's going and removing yourself from it can make it that there are further implications on you. So I get your sympathy, but I got to say, in this case, we are talking about a very, very serious incident that I guess, as much as this is the way you kind of, the other questions that you're asking there are important, and in general circumstances, yes, you kind of err on the side of, well, again, innocent until proven guilty. But January 6th was no ordinary incident, I got to say. And saying that there have been innocent people dragged up in that, if so, do feel the evidence will then bear it out for them. But there's a certain amount of accountability that also has to be had, particularly anyone entering the actual Capitol grounds or the building itself. That's kind of the line that I think is the most significant, actually entering into the Capitol, and the data that came from that, either be on the cameras or, eyewitness accounts, those kind of things, ends up being a significant burden. So the more egregious it gets, the less, I guess, it kind of goes along with the idea that, well, I just got swept up in it. Because sure, that could be then argued for any mob, saying, well, I didn't really mean to, go into that building that was being looted or ended up setting on fire. I just kind of got swept up along with it. That is not a justification in those cases, and I don't particularly see one in this case either. So I appreciate the point in the call. Tell you what, we got to take that next break right now. This is an example. If you get me talking or actually conversating on a subject, we can actually get deeply into it. So do appreciate the point in the call. We got to take that next break now to make sure we can actually keep along with the show here. But I got a lot more comments coming in as well. Eric McNabb, Richard Janasik, RJ, who else chiming in? Ida Beza Gardner a little bit earlier, and a lot of situations that we're dealing with in the local area. So this is so much to say, as we're going to keep the show going. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break. It is Free for All Friday. If you missed the idea there already, what we're talking about in depth about things. Okay, you got me on a soapbox. Not exactly, but an interesting discussion. So we went a little bit long on that. But I guess if you want to call in, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
We have an accident at Joe Battle Boulevard and Edgemere Boulevard. Your alternates are going to be Pebble Hills Boulevard and Saw Kleinfield Drive. We also have an accident at Saragossa Road and the Loop 375. The left lane is closed due to road construction at Americas Avenue eastbound at Socorro Road still. I'm Nia Allen, and that was your El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Cheesecake Factory. Give the gift of Cheesecake Factory. Through December 31st, get a free $15 bonus card for every $50 gift card purchased at thecheesecakefactory.com or at any of the Cheesecake Factory restaurants. Visit thecheesecakefactory.com for more details.
Guys, 2022's been a roller coaster year, so spoil her this Christmas by giving her the next best thing to wearing nothing at all with soft, silky, naturally nude pajamas exclusively from Pajamagram. Sensuous and smooth, naturally nude pajamas feel just like her own bare skin. Even more alluring than lingerie, the texture and touch of these pajamas is so seductive that you'll both love the feel of them. She'll love the feeling of wearing next to nothing at all, and you'll love the way they look. Best of all, Pajamagram does the wrapping for you with free gift packaging. Order today, and Pajamagram will also include a free matching naturally nude nightie with the purchase of naturally nude pajamas. That is free gift packaging and a free naturally nude nightie when you order today. Just go to Pajamagram.com. It's fast, easy, and delivery by Christmas is guaranteed. That's Pajamagram.com.
The holidays are a busy time. If you plan to go to someone's home this holiday season, please find out if there are firearms and if they are safely stored. Practicing safe gun storage protects our kids, prevents accidents, and keeps our firearms out of the hands of criminals.
To learn more about how to talk to others about safe gun storage, go to safegunstorage.texas.com for more information. And let's keep them safe, Texas. Brought to you by the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Make the season even brighter with beautiful jewelry from JTV. Shop JTV.com and get $25 off your purchase of $50 or more when you use code RADIO25. You'll discover more than 40,000 jewelry designs and gifts. That's enough to keep everyone on your list sparkling all season long. Plus, new customers will receive $40 in brilliant cash to use toward their next jewelry purchase. Shop jtv.com and use code RADIO25 and fill your holiday with sparkle.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update. El Paso County commissioners are working on a plan to keep migrants off local streets. The county is looking to help shelters that have been overwhelmed by the migrants' mass arrival. County Judge Ricardo Samaniego said yesterday the county wants to be proactive. He said they are giving the chief administrator, Betsy Keller, authority to make decisions about this crisis immediately if needed, instead of having to wait for commissioners to take action. The county judge also says he has sent a letter to Governor Greg Abbott requesting help with transportation and sheltering. Samaniego says he wants the transportation to be similar to the partnership they have with the Diocese of Houston. Migrants are picked up here in El Paso and taken to the airport in Houston, where they have more options to purchase flights. The county has also set aside $1 million for the Catholic Diocese of El Paso to provide beds for migrants. Samaniego says they are still finalizing that agreement before the funds are turned over. I'm Selena Madrid with your CBS 4 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
We have an accident at Joe Battle Boulevard and Edgemere Boulevard. Your alternates can be Pebble Hills Boulevard and Saw Kleinfield Drive. We also have a left lane closed due to road construction on Donovan Drive, northbound between Thorne Avenue and East Red Road. I'm Nia Allen, and that was your El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brad Montgomery. A cold one for our Friday. Lots of clouds around, lows tonight dropping down into the lower to mid-20s. So if you're going to be going out, you definitely want the coat and jacket for your Saturday and for your Sunday. Saturday, pretty similar to today. We'll see lots of clouds for tomorrow. Highs once again in the lower 50s. And as we look ahead to our Sunday, we'll see about a 20% chance of a rain shower with a high around 54 degrees. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by the Cheesecake Factory. Give the gift of Cheesecake Factory. Through December 31st, get a free $15 bonus card for every $50 gift card purchased at thecheesecakefactory.com or at any of the Cheesecake Factory restaurants. Visit thecheesecakefactory.com for more details.
The bicycles. The toy fire trucks. Instead of giving gifts that kids will outgrow, invite grandparents and friends to contribute to your child's future with the UNest app. UNest allows parents to create an investment account for their kids that makes it easy to gift funds that can be used for college tuition, a first car, and more, just by sharing a link. To get started, download the UNest app from the App Store or Google Play. See terms and conditions at unest.co. That's UNEST.co.
Mario Cordy Lopez here with a fresh breath tip for the holidays.
We all love the parties, friends and family, but up close moments can be awkward.
Yeah, they can. Smart Mouth mouthwash gives you 24 hours of fresh breath confidence with just 2 rinses a day.
Smart Mouth is clinically proven to eliminate and prevent bad breath all day, and rinsing at night even stops morning breath.
Wow.
Give yourself the gift of holiday confidence with Smart Mouth. Find Smart Mouth at your favorite retailer or at smartmouth.com/radio.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Bring home the love of a pet to your family this holiday. At the Petco Love Make More Merry Mega Adoption event tomorrow and Sunday, adoption fees are waived and special Petco offers. Find a participating shelter or Petco near you at mega-texas.com to adopt a pet. This report is sponsored by Petco Love and the love of a pet at mega-texas.com.
Stay informed at ktsmradio.com. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Comments coming in over there, including Edgar Ortiz, John Browson, and Austin Redfern, Richard Janicek dropping those likes and reacts. We do appreciate, including Bonnie Jones, Raul Terrazas, James Holmes, Ida Beza Gardner, Flaco Jimenez, Monica Cervantes, and Robbie Flores. And if you want to chime in, add your 2 cents, and talk about the things that we're actually got going on here. We do take on any subject today, but just say if you're just going to be here to flame people, we're probably going to move on from that, because we got a lot of serious things going on here. Again, a lot of requests I've been getting in actually to talk about the situation, not even just here locally, but from some of our regional and national news partners. So maybe more of that coming in the coming weeks, as we are still anticipating that next Wednesday potential end of Title 42 and everything that comes with it. Yeah, it's complicated at best. But let's get to those phone lines now, because getting into these issues is what we hopefully do best. Like to think we at least try our best. In any case, if you want to get on the line, pull up at the moment, but the number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Raul in the Northeast on the line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. I'd like to remind Ben of the time that 24 women accused Donald Trump of sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said he was going to sue them for defamation, which, he never did, by the way. But if he could prove that he didn't, and they couldn't prove that he did, then he'd suffer the consequences, just like that liar and scumbag Alex Jones, who caused additional harm unto the families of these murdered children with his lies. So he got what he deserved through the courts. About a protest, at the Capitol, 140 officers suffered 1,000 assaults. 800 people have been arrested for that. 400 of them have pled guilty. And they're crying, oh, we were there for Donald, and he abandoned us, and now we feel used. Okay, Ben? Now, Andrew, you as a son of a documentarian historian, and a host of a history show, I know are quite familiar with U.S. history. So I'm going to ask you a historical question after this opening. Now, by the way, it has been said the present is the future of the past, and that the future of the future is in the present. And that's why who our leaders are is really, really important. And my question to you is going to be about leadership. Mm-hmm. Now, Andrew, I love history, as I know that you do too. And I got my teacher certification in social studies. I had my minor in social studies while I was majoring in business management and real estate. And I've read Arnold Toynbee, Will Durant, Walter Isaacson, David McCulloch, many of James Michener's historical novels. I'm a big fan of Ken Burns and a longtime listener of the El Paso History Show. Mm-hmm. I love history so much that I visited the old world to see the great historical cities and buildings and museums of Western civilization, the Parthenon in Athens, the Colosseum in Rome, the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. I visited great museums like the Uffizi in Florence, El Prado in Madrid, and the Louvre in Paris. And I've also visited a few of the great cities of my Native American ancestors, the Aztecs, Tenochtitlan, and I've climbed the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan. And I've seen the Mayans pyramids and observatories in Chichen Itza, and the Anasazi's Chaco Canyon in northern New Mexico. Now, to U.S. history, U.S. historians have ranked presidents from the best to the worst. Most professional and academic historians rank Abraham Lincoln and George Washington among the best presidents in U.S. history, with Lincoln normally getting the number one ranking. George Washington, FDR, and Teddy Roosevelt have always ranked in the top 5. Now, in the bottom list, you got James Buchanan, Andrew Johnson, and Franklin Pierce. So here it comes. Here comes Trumpers. This is for you. Happy holidays. Announcing to the world the twice impeached and not reelected Trump's big announcement turned out to be a video hawking his line of digital trading cards with his images on them as a Superman, a cowboy, and an astronaut. So in this video, hawking his digital trading cards, Trump says that he was a better president than Lincoln and Washington. Now, this is not the first time he's made this narcissistic, delusional, asinine claim. He also proclaimed himself the chosen one, the only one who could fix it, and regularly bragged about how smart and rich he was, proclaiming himself a very stable genius and bloviating about how he knew more about everything than everybody. So again, here is Trump saying he was a better president than Lincoln and Washington. Well, what's really troubling to me, Andrew, is that the loony lemmings in his cult, about a third of the Republican Party, who I branded the Trump-publicans, believe him. And this is the documented biggest liar in president in U.S. history, having told 30,000 lies during his presidency, including stiffing the city of El Paso for $500,000. So anyway, here it is, Andrew. Historians rank Trump third worst president in U.S. history. Now, do you agree with Trump that he was a better president than Lincoln and Washington?
I mean, in short answer, no, but I also don't think that any historical ranking at this point in time is at all the prudent or really possible. There's the potential for another part of the presidency. I mean, the way I think about it is I remember growing up seeing, as I was going into middle school, the events of September 11th happening, and just to the idea of the historical nature and when it ends up actually coming into it, that it took about till about the end of my high school career to see that event start being reflected in the history books. So the way I kind of back of hand think about it is that before something can start entering history, because history is not a commentary on current events. I mean, yeah, there's the whole theory about, news being the first draft of history, but to really kind of summarize it and not be just basically, I don't know, basically be a commentary, an editorial column, and actually be like based in facts and such and metrics beyond just that, and not just that, well, I didn't like the guy, so let's rank him low kind of thing. It takes time, and it takes perspective. It takes hindsight, frankly. And sure, there's arguments some of that may be already available for the Trump administration, but to say that it's demonstrably, I mean, heck, where people were saying that about the Bush administration right after and frankly during it. I remember T-shirts about like worst president going around back at the time I was in high school, and again, still would call that even at that point in time premature, even if we were both technically still in it. So your opinion on the personage and the personality of the previous president is well known and worn territory at this point here, but calling it this settled history already is, nah, I'm not going to be going along with that yet. Would like a little bit more perspective, time pass, moving past the actual, emotions and emoluments of the moment to be able to get there. But yeah, better than Lincoln. Something that I feel very confident in saying is that Donald Trump's ego is more than a little bit part of his personality, and, calling himself, it takes a certain kind of person to put your name in 8,000 point font up and down the side of a building. So I guess I'm not surprised by any things he says continue to not be. It's very interesting that, of course, the reporting going on about the current January 6th committee potentially recommending criminal charges against him. That would be interesting to me to see how they're actually going to posit that, if that is actually moved forward with, but only time will see there. Thanks for the point in the call. For what it's worth here, even if I think you're trying to kind of cram historical analysis into what is essentially current events, one does become the other eventually, but just trying to say that, oh, no, definitely is right now. And, oh, by the way, my perspective is definitely right. Here's the thing about history. That's, again, phrase that comes out, if history only ever makes you proud, or if you only ever agree with it, is my addition to it, you're probably not studying history, because history is often, it can be incredibly mundane at points in time, but it can also be blasé, it can also be shocking, surprising, or just not make sense. So anytime you're seeing a nice, clean narrative laid out from historical documents, there's probably some, maybe not exactly lies of omission, but omission of major things, because history, reality, to the large extent, it doesn't have to make sense. The narratives, the way we put them forth, the stories that we tell ourselves, our children, lore passed down through the generations, even modern storytelling, it all has to make sense. Otherwise, we wouldn't actually like pay attention to it. It would be boring or nonsensical, and it's not what we do as a society. And this goes across many societal bounds. And that's why, like even Shakespeare is still kind of intelligible. Language aside, is the narrative structures of it are sensible to us. History, reality has no such constraints of our conceptions of it upon it. So to say that, oh no, totally makes sense, I'm totally justified, there's nothing that could ever potentially upset me, means that you probably haven't actually studied it. I got to say that there. So thanks again for wanting to call for what it's worth, even if I think the argumentation is the main point that is it's worth to you to answer that question previously. Anyway, let's go ahead and take that next break now. I know we're getting to a couple long calls, but I'll argue that there's a worthwhileness to it. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. In any case, if you want to get on the line, the number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. No, we're not going to try to do one call a segment, but also trying to get a little bit back on track here. It is Free for All Friday. We're taking those comments and calls throughout both hours of the program, so stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break. Here and now on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
We still have an ongoing accident at Joe Battle Boulevard and Edgemere Boulevard. Your alternates are going to be Pebble Hills Boulevard and Saw Kleinfield Drive. We also have a left lane closed due to road construction at Donovan Drive northbound between Coates Drive and Artcraft Road, as well as Donovan Drive between Thorne Avenue and East Red Road. I'm Nia Allen, and that was your El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Pearl Specialties Olives in the sunny yellow jar.
Original MTV VJ Martha Quinn here. Pearl Specialties Olives are bursting with flavor and add the perfect Mediterranean twist to everyday meals and snacks. Rock your recipes with Pearl Specialties Olives. For quality you can trust, look for the sunny yellow jar at your local Walmart.
New on Curiosity Street. Get ready for the best of the best with our 100 Days of Curiosity, featuring fan favorite titles like Light on Earth with Sir David Attenborough. Join me on a journey like no other. Stephen Hawking's favorite places. It's a crazy world out there. The History of Home with Nick Offerman. Not my home, just homes. Other people's homes. And many more. It's 100 Days of Curiosity. And for a limited time, get 40% off our annual plan. That's just $1 a month. Visit CuriosityStream.com.
Have you been naughty or nice this year? Cash don't care. At Jackson Hewitt, you could still get up to $4,500 for the holidays. Some bucks now, more bucks in January. So be naughty. Snap up all the ginger snaps. Wear a pretty sweater to an ugly sweater holiday party. You could still get up to $4,500 when you go to Jackson Hewitt today. Details at jacksonhewitt.com. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Finance charge may apply.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager from Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. The Christmas season is here, and this is our gift to you. We're offering our biggest discounts of the year on every new and certified pre-owned vehicle in our huge inventory.
Get our biggest discounts of the year and exceptional trade-in values during the Big Finish sales event at Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. For a limited time, get $5,000 below MSRP and super low 4.9% APR for 72 months on new 2022 Ram 1500 Low-Star models. $5,750 below MSRP on new 2022 Durango SUVs. $4,000 off new 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokees. All with no payments for 90 days. Worried about your trade or credit? Don't sweat it. Our lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. All military personnel and first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Trade and upgrade for less at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun at I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 4.9% APR, $1,606 per thousand finance. On select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
COVID vaccines just got a big update because updated vaccines now protect against both the original COVID virus and Omicron, and everyone 5 and older can get one.
Find updated COVID vaccines at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Bring home the love of a pet to your family this holiday. At the Petco Love Make More Merry Mega Adoption event tomorrow and Sunday, adoption fees are waived and special Petco offers. Find a participating shelter or Petco near you at mega-texas.com to adopt a pet.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Again, whichever is the right place for you to be. I mean, if you want to comment, you want to just see the show, those kind of things, that's whatever works for you is the right place for you to be. So that's why we mentioned those, so you can know where to go in order to view it, participate, do as you wish. And it is, of course, free for all Friday. So going to be delving back into those phone lines. And if we have a lot of comments coming in, as well as, a lot of interesting different commentary, kind of a back and forth commentary on commentary. But if you want to bring up something substantive, I'll air your mind here. Give that number to call. Pull up at the moment, but we'll be squeezing it in for the second hour of the program as well. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Manny in the Northeast in line with us here right now. Manny, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment, some comments, important comments. I was, whatever. I get the internet in my phone. The thing about it is that it came out this week. I found out that there were some teachers in Texas. A couple of them, they were both white, and they told a group of minority students that their race was the supreme race, and that they were superior above everybody. And they got terminated because of making those comments. So you have to watch what you say. And this is kind of dumb, doing it in the school. And one thing for sure is that, I support demonstrating, but, keeping it, not violent, carrying signs as long as you don't threaten anybody. I have criticized former mayors of El Paso, in the street. I think you did a lousy job, but I didn't threaten them. I think you're one of the lousiest mayors of El Paso, and that he just took off. That he want to hear it, but but that's we're entitled to our opinion. But that's one thing. And I was going to say, I've heard people in the public talk bad about Veronica, and I have approached it and I said, you can talk bad, you can voice your opinion, so long as you don't say out loud that you're going to do something to her. Like make a threat or anything.
Well,
because then, that would really get them in trouble. Or any politician, that you make accountable. I'm going to do. You have to be careful. And it looks like a lot of people here are very ignorant, And just like when they tell me that, hey, are you a white person? I'll say, you're a Mexican. Are you? I said, no, man, I'm an American. I was born in the old William Bowman General Hospital on Fred Wilson when my dad was in the Air Force, and he retired as an Air Force officer. So why do you call me? I find that very offensive, and I don't like it. I'm an American citizen, and I'm happy. I do not deny my ancestry. I know my ancestors came from Mexico. My grandparents were from Mexico. My parents were born here in El Paso, and all my uncles and aunts. So that's all I have to say. That I find that very offensive on the street. Especially when a white person asks me that, that you must be. I don't like it. Have a great day, okay?
Yeah, sure thing.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the point on the call there. Do appreciate it. I mean, again, racism, any stripe that it can come as, is something I'm finding myself opposed to, because anyone assuming anything based on what they look like, what their characteristics they think they see in them are, as opposed to, again, content of character, as has been put off here, is just not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. I don't care what form it comes in or what direction it's going in. It's a bad thing. And if you're not actually judging people based on people, I think you're so much more suffer in life beyond even just the whole, abhorrent to the consciousness kind of thing. Because if you're really just thinking that, like, oh, well, that person is enter immutable category X here, and therefore they are immutable, the thing that you think is associated with that category Y here, you're missing out on, everyone that you meet out there knows something that you don't. I don't mean this in kind of like a secret society kind of way, but they have life experiences. They have something that they know about that you may never experience in your life. And to just dismiss them out of hand is, ignorant at best. That's another good way to put it here. But also, you're going to miss out on quite a lot of life. And if you think that that's wrong, well, good luck to you. I think that you probably don't have many actual people and friends in your life there. In any case, let's squeeze in one more call here before we end up here at the end of the hour. We do have a Richard in the Northeast in line with us here right now. Richard, thanks for joining us.
How you doing? Just before I have an opinion here, I just want to preface by saying that I do have a little empathy, or I shouldn't say a little. empathy and compassion for the folks coming over. But I'm also fully aware of all the legal and actual issues we have in that regard. So don't think that I'm ignorant to that.
Sure.
I know it's a very serious problem. It is a local issue, but I want to share real briefly 2 experiences I had within the last couple of weeks. Now, overnight, I do ride share. And 2 weeks ago, I had a pickup over there in Canutillo, right off the freeway. And it ended up being 3 individuals. I'm guessing a husband, wife, and their kid. And my Spanish is not that good, but long story short, I found they were from Venezuela and they needed to ride to Albuquerque. Now, I don't normally do the ride share all the way there, but I try to ask some questions. And long short, they went through some church organization to get, I guess, some help up there. So I took them after I got the questions asked. But I would get turned back at the checkpoint north of Las Cruces, but they let me on through. That's number one. And last night, in case, I know most of your listeners probably don't drive overnight, I was on a run on the border highway, and I like the signs they got there. They're saying, beware of unexpected pedestrians crossing. And sure enough, I saw some young adult males crossing, the highway there. I slowed down, and boy, they were in a hurry, and they didn't have much on them. So, I try to put myself in their shoes. They must be in real desperation to make, go through all the roadblocks and adversity to get over here. So, but I don't really subscribe to, the way they're doing it, especially not coming with any clothes, money, so forth. But, you got to hand it to them. But which brings me to my last point. We do need a policy on that. But listening to your callers and nationwide calling shows, somebody come up and, tell me a true, comprehensive, reasonable, rational policy that's going to curb this. I haven't heard one yet. All I've been hearing is complaining, right versus left, Biden, Trump. That's really not solving the problem. And here it exists. They're still coming over. But anyway, I just want to share that with you from my personal experiences the past couple weeks. I'll keep it short. Thank you.
No, sure thing. Appreciate the point in the call. Getting that perspective is interesting. I know people have done in completely circumstances separate from this, trying to do the cross-country Uber, people like Mr. Beast, who gives me a headache at best, has tried to do something like that, setting world records. So an interesting way to describe. Never thought about someone actually trying to do that locally. And again, that's some of the questions I've actually had coming into me from some of our regional and national news partners about what is going on here. Why are let's say Denver specifically. Well, okay, tell you what, I'll tell you what I heard from Denver earlier today, a little bit later in the program. We're still doing Free for All Friday, so if you want to get on the line, again, it just filled up, but keep in mind the number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
We still have an ongoing accident at Joe Battle Boulevard and Edgemere Boulevard. Your alternates are going to be Pebble Hills Boulevard and Saw Kleinfield Drive. We also have the left lane closed due to road construction at Americas Avenue eastbound at Socorro Road, as well as Americas Avenue eastbound after Alameda and before North Loop Drive. I'm Nia Allen, and that was your El Paso traffic.
We conquer cancer. For the mom-to-be who is out of treatment options. For the doctor who has a brilliant idea but needs research funding. For the people who faced cancer head-on and climbed incredible heights while they were with us. For the children who celebrate the end of chemo. We conquer cancer for all who have been touched by it. Conquer Cancer accelerates breakthroughs in research and care for every cancer, every patient, everywhere. Join us at conquer.org.
Hey Texas, there are approximately 950,000 individuals in Texas living with a serious mental illness, which is an individual risk factor for severe COVID-19. If you or someone you know is living with a serious mental health condition such as schizophrenia, major depressive disorder, or bipolar disorder, make sure they know where to go this holiday season to stay safe and healthy. Visit covidvaccine.texas.gov to find resources and location information for vaccine providers near you. Stay healthy, Texas.
Is it getting harder to find new customers? After all, it's one thing to run a business and another to grow it, especially these days. But what if you had access to everyone listening to me right now? access to all the customers in your area. As the #1 audio company in America, iHeartMedia gives you access to all the customers you need to grow at a fraction of the cost of digital, video, and social advertising, with experts ready to craft your message fast. Get started today at iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The January 6th committee investigating last year's attack on the Capitol will hold its final public meeting Monday. Reports say the committee is preparing to vote on urging the Justice Department to pursue at least 3 criminal charges against former President Trump. Republicans have attacked the Democratic committee as political theater. Lawmakers have another week to patch together a big government funding deal. Lisa Taylor has more.
President Biden has signed a continuing resolution to fund the government through December 23rd as negotiations on Capitol Hill continue. Leaders on both sides of the aisle have been working to pass a bigger spending package before the end of the month, with sights set on final passage before Christmas Eve. However, House Republicans have been pushing to move the omnibus deadline into next year when they take control of the chamber to have more leverage over negotiations. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema is filing paperwork to run for re-election in 2024 as an independent. Sinema announced last week she was leaving the Democratic Party to become an independent. She said she would still caucus with the Democrats. An Oregon judge has issued a preliminary injunction on the gun magazine size limit in the state's new voter-approved gun law. Ballot Measure 114 would limit magazines to 10 rounds. The judge says the injunction will remain in place until the constitutionality of the measure can be determined. The Biden administration is trying to prevent the spread of COVID-19 over the winter. Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra said the administration is offering more free at-home COVID tests and establishing pop-up mobile vaccination sites.
What we're doing is concentrating our efforts to make sure the communities that are most at risk get the help first and foremost.
The effort also includes providing support for health centers and nursing homes across the country. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Hundreds of tourists are stranded in Machu Picchu due to protests in Peru. Former President Pedro Castillo was impeached and arrested earlier this month after he announced he was going to dissolve Congress. Machu Picchu's mayor, Darwin Baca, said people from all over the world, including Americans, are among those stranded. Baca has requested helicopters to get the tourists out of the city because the only way out of town is by train, and that service has been suspended. The Chicago mayor's race is heating up. Perry Williams has the details.
Despite recent polls showing Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia the frontrunner, incumbent Mayor Lori Lightfoot isn't taking it lightly.
You look at somebody like Chuy Garcia, nice guy, but he has no business being the mayor of our city. 40 plus years as a public servant. Name his one signature accomplishment on behalf of the residents of the city. You're not going to find it.
She also questions a congressional contribution to Garcia from the now indicted head of FTX Crypto. Garcia's campaign says he had nothing to do with the FTX owner's independent expenditures.
It may be the holiday season, but Financial Buzz says New York is the Grinchiest city of all. After looking at data from 50 cities, New York had the lowest score at 18.9, but New Yorkers don't see it that way.
That's not true. New York is not the Grinches. We have potential to be the Grinches, but they're also, what offsets that is all the opportunity and happiness around.
Not Grinchy at all. Happy, hardworking, rock center, tree.
But the data speaks for itself since New York has the lowest rates of holiday decoration shops, Christmas tree lots, gift shops, and food banks. Soccer fans wanting a Leo Messi jersey ahead of Sunday's World Cup final are out of luck. Adidas says all its stores around the world are completely sold out of Argentina jerseys for the famous number 10. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by Petco Love. Add the love of a pet at mega-texas.com. Bring home the love of a pet to your family this holiday. At the Petco Love Make More Merry Mega Adoption event tomorrow and Sunday, adoption fees are waived and special Petco offers. Find a participating shelter or Petco near you at mega-texas.com to adopt a pet.
Mario Cordy Lopez here with a fresh breath tip for the holidays.
We all love the parties, friends and family, but up close moments can be awkward.
Yeah, they can. Smart Mouth mouthwash gives you 24 hours of fresh breath confidence with just 2 rinses a day.
Smart Mouth is clinically proven to eliminate and prevent bad breath all day, and rinsing at night even stops morning breath.
Wow.
Give yourself the gift of holiday confidence with Smart Mouth. Find Smart Mouth at your favorite retailer or at smartmouth.com/radio.
This holiday season, don't forget about you. The free iHeartRadio app is filled with everything you want to hear. And best of all, it's free. That means you can listen to this station while you're dashing out to the store because you forgot something. Again.
Gum is a stocking stuffer, right?
Or grab your headphones and escape inside a podcast for a little alone time. And finding one you love is easy. Like buying a gift card because you're out of ideas easy. Give yourself the gift that keeps giving all year long. Download the free iHeartRadio app for all the music, radio, and podcasts you love.
iHeartRadio. Most of the time, traffic is pretty good. But there are times when traffic can be pretty bad. No, I mean like really bad. Almost, but more like an asteroid's gonna hit the city and everyone's trying to get out of town at once and nobody's car is moving and people are running down the highway clutching their kids and whatever belongings they can grab. Yep, now you got it. It's times like these you need your severe traffic station. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in on however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Appreciate the discussion here, and that's what we do on Fridays here. If you want to add your 2 cents, bring up just about anything, me and we do have certain standards that do apply here. And also got to say, if it's kind of opposed to discussion, probably could be a favor of that as much as well. Certain things that can even be done and might be imposed on us by Facebook, but in any case, or the other social media platforms. But that's why we also mention all of them here. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, more or less the main one. Also, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Whatever works best for you, that's the right place for you to be as we continue our mission to talk about the things that affect us here in the borderland and beyond. Specifically, we got a lot going on with the immigration issue. So I mentioned before the break, I want to talk about what was being seen in Denver because I got a call from a news director there, KOA, their news stations up there. I am mildly jealous because they both got the FM news station. They got the AM news, kind of like we do. They do a combined like a news, sports, talk station format, which would be interesting. Imagine if we kind of cram 1380 and 690 together. It's intriguing, but they also have an FM rebroadcast of it, which I am insanely jealous of, but that's part of the reason we're up on all these pages we are. Anyway, professional admiration aside, they called me because they are seeing, and their city officials up in Denver are saying that they are seeing people from origin points here in El Paso arriving in their community. The number they gave me was approximately about 130 so far, which, yeah, may pale in comparison to what we're seeing here overall, but they're still kind of, I guess, city officials there are kind of feeling blindsided. They weren't sure if El Paso was a point of origin before, but now that they're pretty sure about it. Now, this is not necessarily chartered buses. According to the city and the county, that has not resumed exactly, even if there were, from the news updates we're hearing there from our news partners, about potential contingencies, requests for additional help with shelter and transport being made by the county to the state. So TBD or TBA on those cases. But that's just enough people are showing up kind of on the individual tickets, on the transport buses, and becoming a level of concern for them up there. There's some additional questions on what are we seeing on the ground here. So again, if you're in that area or having a reason to listen to the newscast, you might hear a familiar voice if they end up using any parts of that and getting more requests like that. So I think it's going to be a very interesting week to come. Let me just put it that way. In any case, that's enough for me saying something completely not related to a call or a comment. But if you do want to call or comment in, you can certainly do so. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of comments coming in there, including Richard Lewis saying that I just called in, mentioned there have been times other people call on Ubers for these migrants, and I have declined on arrival near the border because it did not look right, but I had no issue helping the migrant family getting to the church in Albuquerque. Felt good about it. Again, very interesting and a unique situation. I got to say, I haven't heard many others like that, so appreciate you sharing the perspective on that and what some of the situations you're seeing are. I could see that being potentially maybe fraught, and you're probably right to be a bit judicious in your choosing of it, but as I've said before, I mean, know your values and what is good and what you want to do. I know there have been some asking about there what they can do to deal with the humanitarian situation we're dealing with out there, but I mean, don't let yourself be swayed necessarily by what is only the whims of it. There are many organizations in town trying to help deal with the situation that we are seeing, and I know a lot of donations being accepted by, like, say, the Opportunity Center for the Homeless right now. That's where people I know have been doing their charity and donations in this time. So again, whatever you want to do, whether you find yourself opposed or against it, I would just say do something, because otherwise we're going to find ourselves in a very bad situation in our community otherwise. So let's go back to those phone lines now. We do have Robert in the Chaparral area on the line here right now. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
hear you just fine there. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hey, I noticed other day when I was listening, YouTube. Anyways, when I was listening, it came up about the Constitution, of course, Article 2, I believe, which was the executive branch.
Oh, sure.
And also, if I remember right, it was mentioned about term limits or fiscal responsibility and stuff.
Oh, yeah. A potential one that I've heard, I think Warren Buffett is the most famous speaker of that, the idea of if the budget isn't balanced within a certain percentage, all representatives will be ineligible for re-election as a potential amendment. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I wanted to. That led me to think about. I'm assisting with helping with Convention of States. I think I brought it up a year or so.
Sounds about right.
Ago, but remember Convention of States, and we want to deal with some of that. I think we're trying in Convention of States. If anyone has a chance to check it out too, we're trying to propose amendments. ConventionofStates.com. About 3 amendments that we are trying to propose are that we will be proposing are to imposing fiscal restraints, of course, on our federal government. It's got a lot of we see a lot of the spending, that's gone on over these last few months, over the last summer and stuff like that, trillions of dollars, and limit the federal government's power and jurisdiction. A lot of overreach, and we want to put power back, as the Constitution did, and as the Supreme Court, in a way, did over the summer, putting some power back in the states, and to also impose term limits on officials and members of Congress. And I think we can see, I mean, what is it? I think, anyways, such as Schumer, Pelosi, and that's both large parties. I mean, it's got 38, 40, 45 years, Grassley, I think, 48 years or something in Congress. And so I think term limits need to impose, and Convention of States, anyways, if we're trying to propose those through Article 5 of our U.S. Constitution.
I mean,
They put in there.
The Constitution is absolutely amendable. I mean, subject to the whims of the daily would be, not as much in favor of, because we'd end up in some weird situation. But the fact of the matter is, it is a framework to allow for this to happen, and it does require, again, if you want to go the House route, which has not happened that well, again, my lifetime is what I'm going to come up with here, but it can happen through the Convention of the States that you're talking about there. So the idea of this being able to be modified and see some changes to it, I guess, the term limits thing, my idea or my interpretation of it has vacillated a little bit, because at the initial point it sounds good. I mean, we've got this whole sexagenarian, septuagenarian, octogenarian rule that we're dealing with, and whether or not that's a good thing is a lot of individual situations, but as a general rule, we got the minimum ages, of course, that are required for service. You said one of the youngest representatives ever elected. I want to say that was out of Florida, but I might be mistaken about that. But the idea of there being a maximum age, I'm not sure I'm entirely in favor of that because case by case. But the fact of the matter is that none of these people are like, you know what, I just turned 80. I'm going to run for Congress now. They've been in place here this whole time as part of the, was one of the ones, I remember growing up, Strom Thurmond comes to mind as an example of someone who, you look at him at the start of his term of office when he was first elected and then to the end, you're wondering, oh my gosh, that was one stressful term or he's been there forever, and kind of both, I got to say. And I will say the idea of term limits is interesting, though I would have to say for me to support it just personally and on the issue itself, it would have to come with serious campaign finance reform, because in my mind, if we're just going to say, you can only serve so many terms, that'll then hand that much more money to, moneyed special interests, lobbyists, etc. So I'm not sure if that can be totally done constitutionally, but maybe it could. But I'm not going to say simplicity is the only thing that can be done that way. But let's just say there's not too many examples of amendments that go into, well, the kind of specificity that you see from, say, Article 2 or Article 3 of the Constitution, laying out the other parts of mechanism of how government works.
We'll definitely look into that one too. I know that with the amendments that we do want to look, we can look into requiring the members of Congress to live under the same laws that they do pass for the rest of us. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's
impose a lot of that taxation and spending that they're doing too.
I mean, yeah, when it comes to either the healthcare or the insider trading implications, then you have some other conversation. Calvin Williams saying you get rid of super PACs. I mean, at this point, it would be the Citizens United decision would have to be something constitutionally changed here, the way the Supreme Court has previously decided that. And I mean, yeah, there's other conversations, including like Eric von Holstein-Rathlow saying elections are what determine term limits. And yet, the fact of the matter is, as much as Congress has a severe level of dissatisfaction with it, literally at points of time in the last decade or so, and this is my opinion poll, I'm not saying I agree with it, but the idea of a communist takeover of the United States was voted more popular than Congress was, just to give you an idea. And these are both very low rates, but somehow that edged it out. So we got problems there, and they can't rebrand as part of it. But the idea of actually moving forward with it, I mean, some of the most recent ones that have happened to the Constitution, they didn't take forever. It was done within a couple of years, though. That was kind of before really the advent of the internet, I want to say.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, and it's strange, too, that there's a high percentage, I forget in what states, but maybe it might have been across our union, but New York was one in particular where a lot of socialists were voted in. I think in one area up to 92, 97% and everything. But as well, we don't see there was a red wave, but if you look across the map, you can see a lot of places, a lot of states are covered in red too, and a lot of growth came out of, and I think some of that's because of the wackiness that's going on that too.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a possibility, but yeah, it's literally been longer than my lifetime that we've seen an amendment. According to my copy of it here, it was it's actually the 27th Amendment has actually been in place. Okay, not quite my lifetime.
1984.
Yeah. Well, it was the 27th. The one about not paying pay raises for yourself was 92. So just within my lifetime. But I will also say that one, it's technically been on the books since 1789. So it was one of the longest possible going on one.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, that one's actually been in the process for over 200 years, and it was just picked up back in the 80s, and then finally passed. And there's actually, I don't know if you know, but there was a Trafalgar survey done in the summer. A lot of people approve of doing a convention of states and imposing all these situations. I think it was like over 50%, 50.2%, I believe, of Democrats wanted it, 63% of independents, and of course, over 81% Republicans want to see a convention of states happen, which can bring a lot of hope and stuff. But anyways, the convention of states, we're trying to raise up a grassroots army to see that happen, and a lot of hope there.
I mean, it's interesting possibilities. I'll be interested to talk more about that if we can get particularly closer to seeing local stuff with it. But thank you for bringing it up. Do appreciate it.
Okay, you bet. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks a lot. Thanks for the point in the call. You have a good one there. All right. And with that, let's get to at least, okay, tell you what, we're going to take that break. Coming back, and we'll get to more calls on the line here. A lot of people chiming in, adding their 2 cents, wanting to get on the line. Again, the number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
We still have an ongoing accident at Joe Battle Boulevard and Edgemere Boulevard. The alternates are going to be Pebble Hills Boulevard and Saw Kleinfield Drive. We also have left lane closed due to road construction at Americas Avenue eastbound after Alameda and before North Loop Drive, as well as Donovan Drive, northbound between Thorne Avenue and East Red Road. I'm Nia Allen, and that was your El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Petco Love. Add the love of a pet at mega-texas.com. Bring home the love of a pet to your family this holiday. At the Petco Love Make More Merry Mega Adoption event tomorrow and Sunday, adoption fees are waived and special Petco offers. Find a participating shelter or Petco near you at mega-texas.com to adopt a pet.
Have you been naughty or nice this year? Cash don't care. At Jackson Hewitt, you could still get up to $4,500 for the holidays. Some bucks now, more bucks in January. So be naughty. Snap up all the ginger snaps. Wear a pretty sweater to an ugly sweater holiday party. You could still get up to $4,500 when you go to Jackson Hewitt today. Details at jacksonhewitt.com. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Finance charge may apply.
For more than 20 years, the Window Depot has provided the best price and the biggest inventory on in-stock vinyl windows. And now, the Window Depot is more than a window store, offering homeowners and contractors a one-stop warehouse offering interior and exterior doors, granite quartz countertops, in-stock cabinetry, and skylights to finish your project. Their team of professionals will help with everything from free kitchen design to custom orders from leading manufacturers like Milgard and Geldwin. Order online or find a location near you at thewindowdepot.com.
It can happen easily. A few drinks become a few too many. It's time to go, and you think of calling for a ride home. Nah, what's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone, drive sober, or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
My son Finn was born with congenital heart disease and spent the first 8 months of his life in the hospital. Starlight Children's Foundation has played an important role in our lives. For 5 weeks as a baby, Finn lived in a Starlight Hero wagon instead of having to sleep in a hospital bed. Starlight provides moments of joy for families like mine at a time where there's very little to be found. Learn more about how Starlight brightens the lives of sick kids by visiting starlight.org today.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? And if you drive while you're high, law enforcement can definitely tell. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, more or less the main one, but also Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. A lot of people chiming in on a lot of different places, including, of course, here, Raul Terrazas, Matt Olson, Sergio Faz, Kevin Williams, Ian Graham, Bonnie Jones, James Holmes, Ida Beza Gardner, Flaco Jimenez. Did I say Ida Beza Gardner? I did. Never shows me the full list these days for some reason. I don't know why. You're still there. I think also Monica Cervantes and Robbie Flores are rounding out that list. A lot of interesting conversations, including about voting about the future of this show. Unfortunately, it's not up to me nor any of the anyone just casting their votes there as part of it. But let's just say we got some things in the works. Hopefully, more we can bring with you in the new year. We got some of those time frames coming up. Like next Friday, we're going to be out of the office, as that is the 12 times we're expected to be. So we got those holiday schedules coming up here. So next week will be a compressed week. Week after, the one in between Christmas and New Year's, we will be on the air, but it'll be kind of just a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday kind of thing. So we'll still squeeze in y'all's comments as much as we do during those coming weeks. And then, of course, getting into the new year, we'll be off on the Observe that Monday, but we'll be back bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to get at it for the new year that first Tuesday. So much to say that we got a lot more to come for you and a lot more discussion coming in the next week, but get into more of that closer to the end of the show. A lot of conversation about that convention of states idea going on. That is very interesting to me. But in any case, let's back to those phone lines right now. We do have Barbara on the west side of the line with us here right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us. Barbara, do we have you on the line there? I think we may have lost her.
Andrew?
Yeah, there you are.
Andrew.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so I'm on the line?
Yes, we got you here.
Okay. Am I still on the line?
Yeah, we got you there. We're on the air here. What's on your mind?
Okay. I heard that you got a call from Denver
Mhm.
telling you about the influx. Well, this morning, the mayor of Denver said he was going to call an emergency because they're at the breaking point. Get a load of this with the influx of illegal immigrants in their city. And I think Denver and El Paso have basically the same population. I'm not sure. So I would suggest that the city and the county keep an eagle eye on how much money Denver gets, because we're building facilities, we're processing people, we have people from the city working in the helping Border Patrol. So our money should be way a lot more than I see other cities in the area. That's just my recommendation. But I was going to mention yesterday, Samaniego, I mentioned that he said that Governor Abbott didn't want to help us because we were Democrat and he was interested in the Republican cities along the border. So I've communicated with Austin this morning, and this is what they told me. Governor Abbott has 10,000 National Guard and DPS along the border, which includes El Paso. So that statement was wrong. And then I saw where Samaniego sent a letter to Abbott for help.
Right.
I saw that this morning. And yesterday I heard De Agostino saying that we're working with our state partners. So I don't know if that means they both called an emergency. I don't know what it is. But in any event, they're working with a Republican governor. So let's forget this idea that the governor does not like El Paso. And the next thing I wanted to mention is, we frequently hear from our leaders, Escobar, Samaniego, and Lichter, the words, we have to treat these people humanely and dignified. They are our neighbors. And then Escobar introduced El Paso to Kamala and Mayorkas, and she was proud that we were the Ellis Island on the south border. Okay. So just using the words neighbors in the south Ellis Island, I'm wondering how many of us would invite our neighbors based on Mayor Lister's definition of a neighbor to cross through the most dangerous border in the world, coming to the U.S. A border that is now controlled by the cartel who chooses who comes and who don't. And it's now referred to as a cartel-controlled zone. That's based on an organization that's affiliated with the United Nations. I'm not designating them the most dangerous crossing in the world. They are. So how many people would really invite their guests, their neighbors to cross through the border like that? And then when they get here, they're nothing more than a playground tetherball at the mercy of politicians in a foreign country. That's sad in itself. And then let's not forget that these failed policies of the Biden administration, which our Congresswoman condones, are impacting the lives of the most vulnerable population in the world. We can't just say in El Paso, but we have people from around the world coming on a treacherous journey, losing their lives, children being raped, little girls and little boys being raped. They're being kidnapped, they're being abducted, they're being extorted for money to get here. How many of us would invite our neighbors to that environment? It's a pretty sad situation when we're told that they invite the world to our country, and this is what they're a right to. They say, come, you're welcome. And what happens? They have to wait in freezing temperatures on the other side of the border. It's either freezing temperatures or sweltering hot heat until they're ready to bring them in. And then once they're here, our neighbors are being flown secretly throughout the United States because the government who wants them here doesn't want the people of the United States of America to know where they're at. What type of a friend are we to our neighbors? And I'm wondering, and I wish that our congresswoman would tell us, what is their strategy? What are their milestones that they're going to get to, and the goals? And do they have any idea of whether or not they're going to have incremental checks, or are we going to continue on a whack-a-mole? You know, we're going to put this fire out here, put it there, and now I understand they're bringing border patrol from other sections of the border. Well, everybody is inundated with the influx of what's happening, so we're taking border patrol off other sections so that they can get overwhelmed, and then they're going to have to go back, and then we're going to have to find more here. I told them, this is the second time I say it, Andrew, and I shouldn't say it, but I've said it before. They're never going to be prepared for what's going to hit us at the border. Absolutely not, because they've opened the floodgates. They don't have a solution. They do everything reactively. And I was surprised when Veronica Escobar said yesterday or the day before that she told Mayorkas that they have to have another plan. Why didn't she say we? Because she's included with them. She's told us she works closely with them. But now it's they. I'm going to distance myself in this decision. It's they have to solve the problem. And yet she's right in the middle of it all. So we don't get the truth from anybody. I don't care what corner of the world we're going to look up in the United States. We do not get the truth from anybody. And in the meantime, like I said, the most vulnerable population in the world is being impacted. Lives are being lost. Kids are being lost. Kids are being raped. I mean, would we tell our neighbor, come visit me? And hey, but wait a minute, your child may get lost in our system, and the government doesn't show any indication that they're concerned about the safety of these children or where they're at or how they're going to find them. I have not heard an update since last September when it was reported that 45,000 children are lost in our system. We're a pretty sad country. And I was so proud of the United States of America until this administration just, everything they touch goes to pot. There's nothing that you can point to. I wish somebody would call and point at all the positive things that are happening with our immigration system. Seriously, because I don't see it. And I read these things every day. I keep up with what's going on with the Biden administration, especially because our congresswoman is she's so stuck in her mentality that this is good for the country. And then I hear, well, you know what? Our country was built by immigrants. That's a true statement.
Absolutely.
But it's a past tense. Was built. We're built. Our foundation is solid. So these people that are coming in are not going to come and help us build our country anymore. In my opinion, the majority of them, God bless them, are coming to take from our country. What can they help us build? They don't speak English. They don't go to, the kids, unfortunately, haven't been to school. They're not educated. They're not skilled. I mean, how many are? And we don't know. And you know why we don't know what their skills are or what they do? Because we don't vet them. If we vet them and we have doctors, lawyers, engineers, chemists, you name it, people with a lot of knowledge, we would hear about it. I think that's the first thing the government would brag about. Hey, well, we let in 4 doctors today, or we've got these surgeons in here, to these physicians will be working in our local hospitals.
I get what you're saying there about the qualifications, and I mean, generally the lack of any kind of control when it comes to those that are being admitted, when it comes to, waiting the asylum process or the immigration court hearings, is a level of concern I do also share. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that there is also still the demand here. So I'm going to disagree with you on that last point about there being nothing to be offered, because I mean, as we talked about yesterday, there is a level of demand even for the unskilled labor or those that can't communicate, because well, that's unfortunately what a lot of our systems, particularly like agriculture, produce pulled from, the fields or trees, ends up requiring that kind of thing. And it's a kind of a constant churn. So much about building, whether you want to argue that or not, I think I'm going to disagree with you on that point and the idea that there's nothing to be offered. But what I will say is this, that I've never met anyone reasonably saying that this system, as much as it is a de facto system of people coming to the border, however it is, and presenting themselves across, is a good one. I mean, the whole dangers, the passes and the location names that we've come to know about, the stories of those making the harrowing journey, I don't think there's anyone out there that would reasonably cause that. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's a good thing. The more reasonable things that I've heard from people about that, yeah, this is bad, that this should not be happening this way. And the fact that it has been, either, set up or continuing to be allowed to exist in such a way does show a lack of, I would say proactiveness has not been exactly a phrase that can be applied to the policy that has been put forth in these cases. I want to make it perfectly clear. I do give a lot of credit to Border Patrol, our federal immigration authorities that have to deal with this every day. And I do not put this level of blame on them, saying that they have to, well, why haven't you done good enough with the things that are happening literally outside of your scope of operations, outside of what is going on in the United States. They are not an international authority and therefore can't do anything about that. But if we're starting to talk about international relations and those aspects of it, that's very much what should have been done by Congress, by different administrations to this point. I mean, some of the ideas that could maybe address it, I'm hoping that they would be like the idea of, third country processing, of having those centers outside, kind of what Mayorkas said, but I'm not really aware of that being able to happen without like acts of Congress, treaties essentially being signed to set that up, being that taken. Maybe if there's something that can be done with executive orders, my question would then be, why not before now? But I mean, there's a lot of complicated natures there for it. But again, I've never met anyone reasonably saying that, no, these kind of crossings and the result of it here, even if them getting here, even if they like it, I've never met anyone that reasonably says, and the way they're crossing is a good thing. No, we should totally keep the system going because, it's horrific in a variety of ways. And even if you keep the system in the shadows, either side of it, really, what we're looking at, the future for these people potentially is being preyed upon and being brutalized, as you're talking about, on the, by the cartels. And even after they cross here, the stash houses we keep talking about, or even beyond that, of living in the shadows if they are not processed. And frankly, given pipeline and talking about path to citizenship is a hot button issue at the very least. But if there's no actual kind of off ramp from this situation, we're just going to see that continuing on, and therefore allows for the potential for more victimization, more manipulation, brutalization, however you want to put it, because if they can't come forward, if they can't be a part of the actual legal culture and systems in place from it, that just sets it up for maybe not totally future generations, because future generations would then be more a part of and integrated and, citizens of the United States, etc., but not dealing with it for the millions that we're talking about that we know are here. I mean, the estimates vary. Again, 11 million still sticks in my head, even though I know that's an out-of-date figure. It's just the one that ever since this got to the level that it has been since 2014 with their serious other issues coming in, been a very, it's all a serious problem, but there not being even incremental changes to this, just reactionary policies. I'll agree with you on that point, has been a serious problem and contribution to how the system and the situation we're in now.
Andrew, regarding the Border Patrol, I agree totally with you, but imagine waking up in the morning, going to your job, and you have a supervisor who doesn't support you, who basically lies to their face, and doesn't have a good relationship with the Border Patrol. When he's called on the carpet, he lies to them. He does not support the Border Patrol. Imagine going to a job every day where you put your life on the line, and that's what your supervisor thinks of what you're doing. Just to brush it away, it's not important because it's his way or the highway. I mean, if it wasn't imagine what we would be if we didn't have these courageous, dedicated, loyal Border Patrol on the border. We would be nothing. Our city would be inundated with just the flows coming in, as would be the United States and Denver's and the New York's asking for $1 billion. There's no appreciation for what these men do for us, and that is sad because Mayorkas is their boss. You get up in the morning, what's my mission? How am I going to accomplish it, and how do I get there? They don't have that. They don't have a mission. They don't know what their mission is anymore. We bus, we process, we take care of kids, we do this, we do that. But what is our real true mission here? It's been so obliterated with everything that Mayorkas has done, that they don't know if they're going or coming anymore. And we really need to have a huge celebration for our Border Patrol at the border, for the Border Patrol, because that's what they do for our city. They protect us, put their lives on the line, and they have a boss who doesn't care. Come join me at the party, guys.
Maybe not at the border. Maybe not at the border right now. I think they got enough to worry about with these situations here, but I understand the sentiment. So thanks for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Andrew.
All right, with that, we got to take that next break right now. Again, more calls coming in. We're getting in depth on a few of them here, so sue me, but got a lot to talk about. So if you want to get on the line, the number to do so, of course, is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. Border Patrol ramped up enforcement as El Paso continues to see an unprecedented number of migrants coming across the border. Protecting the border is, of course, the agency's main priority. And while the influx of migrants has been unprecedented, officials say they're not stretched too thin just yet due to them pulling other agents from other sectors across the region. Health and Human Services is also on the ground helping Border Patrol screen the migrants medically to make the process faster and make sure they're not sick. And the collaboration doesn't end there. But city officials fear the asylum rule change of lifting Title 42 next week could double local migrant crossings, now estimated at roughly 2,500 migrants a day over the past week. Meantime, the county judge, Ricardo Samaniego, said that he has sent a letter to Governor Greg Abbott requesting help with transportation and sheltering. He's not sure if the governor can help with sheltering, but says he's requesting it anyway. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
We have a new accident at Northwestern Drive and Paseo del Norte. The alternates are going to be Wrestler Drive and the 375. We also have an accident at Macomb Street and Sean Haggerty Drive and Stanton Street and East Paisano Drive. Those both have accidents. I'm Mia Allen, and that was your El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brad Montgomery. A cold one for our Friday. Lots of clouds around, lows tonight dropping down into the lower to mid-20s. So if you're going to be going out, you definitely want the coat and jacket for your Saturday and for your Sunday. Saturday, pretty similar to today. We'll see lots of clouds for tomorrow. Highs once again in the lower 50s. And as we look ahead to our Sunday, we'll see about a 20% chance of a rain shower with a high around 54 degrees. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Petco Love. Add the love of a pet at mega-texas.com. Make your holidays more merry. Adopt a pet during Petco Love's Texas Mega Adoption Event at participating animal shelters and Petco stores tomorrow and Sunday. Even merrier, all adoption fees are waived. Visit mega-texas.com to adopt a pet.
Hey, Texas. There are approximately 950,000 individuals in Texas living with a serious mental illness, which is an individual risk factor for severe COVID-19. If you or someone you know is living with a serious mental health condition, such as schizophrenia, major depressive disorder, or bipolar disorder, make sure they know where to go this holiday season to stay safe and healthy. Visit covidvaccine.texas.gov to find resources and location information for vaccine providers near you. Stay healthy, Texas.
New on Curiosity Stream. Meet the man who dove deep and changed modern nautical engineering and warfare forever on John Philip Holland, inventor of the submarine. And in 200 AD, before modern medicine, a Chinese doctor performed life-saving surgeries. How'd he do it? And how has surgery evolved since? It's the new series, The Past, Present, and Future. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. And for a limited time, get 40% off our annual plan. That's just $1 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else. Turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Staples has tech gifts for everyone on your list at great prices. Right now at Staples, the new Apple AirPods Pro 2nd generation is just $199. You save $50. In-store only offer ends 12/17, limit 2. The latest tech gifts now at Staples, the working and learning store. This report is sponsored by Staples Stores.
KTSM AM El Paso is News Radio 690, an iHeart radio station. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages that we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube. There are also Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, all of them. Talk El Paso, Andrew J. Polk is where you can find us on those. A lot of commentary. That's kind of what we do on Friday going on the social medias. Definitely a lot of interesting. Interesting is a overused and very euphemistic phrase in some of these cases here. But if you want to chime in, more than welcome to do so. Those dropping those likes and reacts as well, such as Bernadette Bandicol, Matt Olson, Sergio Faz, Calvin Williams, Ion Graham, Bonnie Jones, James Holmes, Ida Beta Garzner, Flacco Jimenez, Monica Cervantes, and Robbie Flores. Do appreciate that. Raul Terrazas, don't want to miss that as well. So, and Matt Olson, Joey Carlson, Eric McNabb, Robert Gable over on the and also RJ earlier on the YouTube specifically. So interesting sets of comments on there. But let's go back to those phone lines, squeezing what we can before the end of the program here. Let's get to, who do we have right now? We have Frankie and Messi on the line with us right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right. Listen, I know you like to talk about local issues. Well, that's what I want to talk about tonight. And specifically, this immigration stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? And then I know it's not just local, it's national. And I want to tell you something. My solution is somewhat draconian, and I know that my solution would be an anathema to the normal thinking Americans of this United States of America. But let me tell you this. I think, and here's my solution. This is the fix, all right? I think we resurrect the Bracero program, right? Now, that worked very well way back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, right? Now, you have to tweak it a little bit because very evildoers and nefarious types screwed it up. But I think if you resurrect this program and you tweak it in the right way, this is somewhat workable. Now, again, like I said, you go draconian on this thing and fix this thing within 6 months, but this would not work in a civilized, our type of civilized society. But I think the Bracero program resurrected would work very well. You have to tweak it 14 different ways a Sunday to fix it, to make it adjust this way or that way. Now, what do you think of that?
It's an interesting comparison you're making there. We've actually done some recently stuff on the history program involving, at least mentioning, the Bracero program, and the various interesting things that happened with it include like applying insecticides to people as a part of their conditions of crossing. So, yeah, there are some interesting and probably serious modifications that would need to be made to, like you said, fit modern sensibilities or understandings at the very least. But I will say that maybe it wouldn't necessarily solve this problem so much as be somewhat of a pressure relief valve, because the Bracero program was essentially a guest worker program at its core, even if there are, again, a lot of other features and factors of it here, not pretending to be an expert of it. But yeah, it was a guest worker program. So it ended up going a lot into, the migrant workers, they, be picking, produce off the trees or in the fields. So it was that kind of a thing. But The fact of the matter is that I don't know if that's exactly the pressures that we're seeing with here. I'm sure that there's a part of it. I mean, as much as major currents of immigration have changed and definitely adjusted over last decade and a half, they have really accelerated those changes to being more less the single adult males of working age trying to cross over, do some work, get enough money to bring other people across, that kind of thing. It could still deal with that subset of the population that is there, but a lot of the things, I mean, the whole modern revolution that we've seen in the way that immigration issues have been happening, particularly in our local area, has been of the asylum seeker variety, of which is not a want to come over for a little bit and then leave after. I mean, that's a permanent thing. That's a permanent status that they are seeing there. So again, I'm not saying that it would have no impact whatsoever. I'm just not sure at this point in time, particularly with what we are seeing right now, if this would, say, be in place 6 months ago and have impact right now, that we'd be seeing that much of a difference, I got to say.
Well, okay, Andrew, but here's the situation. You've got to come up with a solution.
No, absolutely.
Right? You either go 40 different shades to the left or to the right. You got to find a sensible solution. Now, the Buffalo program works for the reasons you can imagine. Everybody look it up, whatever it is, if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about.
Sure.
The point is, you got to find a solution because this is not sustainable, Andrew. This whole thing with this monstrous nut job nonsense of this horrible immigration stuff doesn't work. And you cannot sustain a sovereign nation when you've got everybody in the world invading your place. It just does not work. Anyway, have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you Monday.
Appreciate the point on the call. I mean, interesting idea. And I'm not saying that thinking about this is a bad thing. I just don't know if simply resurrecting old ideas is going to be the solution here. Because frankly, I think that's part of the reason we're in this problem is that so many old things, so many holdovers. I mean, the way immigration law is structured right now is very much unchanged in large part for the last, I mean, it's been saying now 40 years, Reagan administration timeframe. So I again, don't think it's bad to be thinking about this, but I think we need to be looking at new things, more responsive things to our current situation. Otherwise, we're just kind of kicking the can down the road. But I do appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one as well.
All right, Andrew, take care.
All right, with that, we got to take that next break right now. Okay, seeing what we can squeeze in coming out of this, at the very least, telling you what we got coming up for you on the program here. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. At the very least, tell you what we got working on for you for the coming week, as well as, some of those schedule adjustments. Keep in mind here. Holidays coming up, that kind of stuff. But in any case, stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
We have a new accident at Northwestern Drive and Paseo del Norte. The alternates are going to be Wrestler Drive and the 375. We also have an accident at Macomb Street and Sean Haggerty Drive and Stanton Street and East Paisano Drive. Those both have accidents. I'm Nia Allen, and that was your El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Petco Love. Add the love of a pet at mega-texas.com. Make your holidays more merry. Adopt a pet during Petco Love's Texas Mega Adoption Event at participating animal shelters and Petco stores tomorrow and Sunday. Even merrier, all adoption fees are waived. Visit mega-texas.com to adopt a pet.
The Salvation Army is dedicated to meeting human needs wherever, whenever, and however they can. Every year, they show more than 25 million Americans love beyond poverty. Your donations help families in need this holiday season and all year long.
For people living in poverty, Christmas can be a difficult time of year. Millions of parents struggle to afford basics like food, rent, and utilities before even thinking about buying gifts for their kids.
That's why the Salvation Army steps in, bringing new clothes and toys to 1 million kids each year. And when you give to the Salvation Army during the holiday season, your gift lasts all year by helping to provide shelter, food, and utility assistance every day of the year.
Show your neighbors love this season and beyond by dialing pound 250 on your phone and saying the keyword Salvation Army at the prompt. You'll have the opportunity to receive a one-time auto-dialed text message from iHeartMedia that links to a donation form. The Salvation Army. Love beyond Christmas.
Guys, 2022's been a roller coaster year, so spoil her this Christmas by giving her the next best thing to wearing nothing at all with soft, silky, naturally nude pajamas exclusively from Pajamagram. Sensuous and smooth, naturally nude pajamas feel just like her own bare skin. Even more alluring than lingerie, the texture and touch of these pajamas is so seductive that you'll both love the feel of them. She'll love the feeling of wearing next to nothing at all, and you'll love the way they look. Best of all, Pajamagram does the wrapping for you with free gift packaging. Order today, and Pajamagram will also include a free matching naturally nude nightie with the purchase of naturally nude pajamas. That is free gift packaging and a free naturally nude nightie when you order today. Just go to pajamagram.com. It's fast, easy, and delivery by Christmas is guaranteed. That's pajamagram.com.
Because everyone deserves excellent medical care, El Paso has its own free community medical clinic. RotoCare is a free walk-in clinic located at 301 South Schutz Drive and is devoted to improving the health of all El Pasoans, including those without insurance or legal documentation. RotoCare is open most Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon. For more information, call 790-0700. RotoCare, because everyone deserves excellent medical care.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. We have covered quite a lot of ground. I don't really have a metric I can point to about 1 week versus the next or one show versus the next, but I feel like we've maybe gotten to a bit more topics than usual. In any case, thank you all very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. A couple of notes for you for next week and the coming weeks. Still got that state legislative session that's coming up. We'll be doing more of our interviews with that. Also working on some more responsive things involving the situation involving immigration, border security, all of that. We got a lot of different aspects, including, of course, state, local, county, international, national. We didn't get too much to those as much, but there's still plenty more to delve into. And just as some of those programming notes, next week, shorter week, as we'll be off for the Christmas Eve observed on Friday. So we'll still do the Thursday live show. And Thursday, what do we go with? Let's not talk about it Thursday. What was it? I'll have to remember what we talked about it the previous weeks. And then the week after will be a short week indeed, as we'll be doing the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday kind of show. But we'll still squeeze in the free-for-alls on those days. So those coming Thursdays, thrilling Thursdays. No, there was a better way. I got to reference my notes here. But in any case, I appreciate everyone that did tune in, call and comment, participate in the show, bring up these issues, and bring your perspective. Throwdown Thursday, that's what it was. And oh boy, does it, even if I don't want to call it that, I feel like that's where we end up. So appreciate the suggestion there, because talking about these issues is important. There's a lot of different perspectives, and trying to wade through them and not exactly build consensus. I don't expect anyone to agree with me, even if I'm going to try to put forth what I find to be hopefully a reasonable perspective in the midst of all this. I'm just a dude trying to make his way through the world just like anyone else is. And there's a whole lot of complicated subjects out there, but I fully contend and will continue to do so that not talking about them, just being like, well, that's the way it is, and we just got to deal with it, is not a way to go through life, these situations, any of it. So that's what we'll keep doing every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. as we do. So again, everyone that has either tuned in, called in, commented, as long as you keep these conversations going, don't just let it end here with the end of the show today. Make sure you actually talk about the things that are important with your friends, loved ones, families, etc., because that's what it takes for a community to react to even things of this size and magnitude that we are seeing right now. It takes coordination. It takes conversation to make it actually through it. Otherwise, I'm not going to say we're not going to, but I think we'll be that much worse off for it. So that's where we're going to have to leave it for today. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Until next time, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles out on the roads and people as well, as we're seeing there. And stay safe. We'll see you next week. Tune in for the Past History Radio Show rerun of one of the greatest, The Last Battle of Juarez, coming up tomorrow. But otherwise, have a great weekend, y'all.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
We still have those ongoing accidents going on at Northwestern Drive and Paseo del Norte. The alternates are going to be Wrestler Drive and the 375. Also at Macomb Street and Sean Haggerty Drive is an accident, as well as Artcraft Road east of the I-10 is an accident as well. I'm Nia Allen, and that was your El Paso traffic.
Hey El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager from Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. The Christmas season is here, and this is our gift to you. We're offering our biggest discounts of the year on every new and certified pre-owned vehicle in our huge inventory.
Get our biggest discounts of the year and exceptional trade-in values during the Big Finish sales event at Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. For a limited time, get $5,000 below MSRP and super low 4.9% APR for 72 months on new 2022 Ram 1500 Low-Star models. $5,750 below MSRP on new 2022 Durango SUVs. $4,000 off new 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokees. All with no payments for 90 days. Worried about your trade or credit? Don't sweat it. Our lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. All military personnel and first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Trade and upgrade for less at Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso. El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 4.9% APR, 1606 per thousand finance. On select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Kids dream big. Protect your child's dreams by keeping them healthy. If your son or daughter is age 11 or 12, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help prevent HPV cancers later. Learn more at cancer.org/dreambig.
Traffic's bad enough without Mother Nature adding to your headache. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSF. News on the hour and the hat. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Lawmakers have another week to patch together a big government funding deal. President Biden has signed a continuing resolution to fund the government through December 23rd as negotiations on Capitol Hill continue. Leaders on both sides of the aisle have been working to pass a